Okay, hi guys, Carl here from the Dublin Academy of Education, and first of all I'd like to say I'd like to welcome you to the Junior Cert Business Studies Easter Revision course. Okay, so I hope you're all doing well. Strange circumstances at the moment, but we just got to assume that the Junior Cert is going to go ahead as normal, and you've got to be trying to work as hard as you possibly can to achieve the best result that you possibly can when you get to the exam in June. Okay, so it's really important that you work and you try to do as many exam questions as you possibly can. But what's going to happen with me is I'm going to give you 5 sessions, and in those 5 sessions, we're going to go through pretty much the entire syllabus. But we're obviously going to concentrate on the type of questions that the examiner asks. With it being a relatively new exam, I mean this year is the second year that the exam is being asked, we will try to predict the type of questions that you're going to get in the exam. So what you've received so far is you've received a huge set of notes, okay? So you've got a huge amount of notes on different areas that are on the syllabus. So what's going to happen is that throughout the 5 sessions, we were going to go through those notes. I'm going to go through those notes with you, but obviously the emphasis is always on the exam questions. So we'll go through the actual syllabus content, and once we go through that syllabus content, we'll have a look at the exam questions that the examiner could potentially ask us in June. So that's really the plan. The plan for you is try to do as many exam questions as you can, prepare yourself for that exam, give yourself the confidence to achieve your best result that you possibly can in the exam in June. And I'm here to help you get that best result that you possibly can. So over the next 5 sessions, as I said, I will give you a heads up on what area or what strand of the actual course we're having a look at. On this first session, the 2 main areas that we're going to have a look at is we're going to have a look at household budgets and we're going to have a look at the consumer. Right? So they are the 2 main handouts that we are going to have a look at on session 1. So with all the sets of notes that you got, these are the 2 ones that we are going to concentrate on in session 1. At this stage, you've got your CBA 1 done, you have your CBA 2 done, hopefully you have your descriptor based on those, hopefully a few you got some exceptionals within that descriptor, and that will give you the confidence obviously as well to do well in the exam. That you're familiar with the course content, you've gone through your CBAs, you've done quite well in them, you've presented your projects and so on, and what we're really going to do is just concentrate now on that exam section of the actual 100% that you can be given for your overall mark in the junior cycle exam. Okay, so with that in mind, what I would like you to do now is I'd like you to open up the set of notes that says household budgets at the start. Okay, so we're going to go through the household budgets at the start. So if you look at the contents, the table of contents there on page 2, we've got household budgets. We're going to have a look at what actually the household budgets are. We're going to have a look at the types of budgets that can get examined. We're going to have a look at different types of income and expenditure. Then we're going to prepare a budget. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do 3 exam questions. 3 potential exam questions that could get asked on household budgets. And if you can do those 3 questions, you will have no problem doing a household budget in June when it comes up. Okay? So, that's the table of contents. Let's now have a look at page 3. And there's not a huge amount of content that we have to actually go through. So, top of page 3, household budgets. Note, this question was asked every year in the old course. So on the old course you had 2 papers, right? So you had paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 1 was predominantly looking at it from the point of view of the individual, the household. Whereas paper 2 then looked at it from the point of view of the business. Now every year on the old course, paper 1, question 1 was always a household budget. So the examiner likes it. Now, we're not entirely sure of the type of questions that are going to come up because we haven't seen the pattern yet. Because as I said, this year is only the second year that this new junior cycle course and this new junior cert exam or junior cycle exam is being asked. So we know that in the past it has been quite a common question. It was always question 1. In 2019 it wasn't asked. So therefore this could easily come up as an exam question. Now, just to give you contents of the exam, later on in the sessions, when we get to session 5, I'm going to go through the 2019 paper with you, and I'll talk you through that. But just to give you a quick heads up on it, there's 2 sections, and on the first section you have 15 questions, and they are short questions. They're all worth 6 marks, so the total is 90 marks on them. And then what you have is you're going to get 3 long questions, okay? Now, with those 3 long questions, again, you have to answer all of the questions. Each of those questions are worth 60 marks. So you've got 180 marks there. With these 15 by 6, you have your 90 marks there, so that brings us up to 270. And then your CBA 2, the assessment task in your CBA 2 is worth 30 marks, so that brings you up to 300 marks in total. Okay, so if we get this household budget in the exam, it could be, and we could predict that it could be one of these 3 long questions on the second section of the exam. And if it does come up in that area, we need to know it well, and we need to be able to prepare those household budgets. And as I said, we will have a look at the 3 different types of household budgets that could potentially get asked in June. Okay, so that's a layout of the exam, and as I said to you in session 5, later on when we're having a look at the later videos, what we'll do is we'll have a look at the actual layout from last year's exam, and we'll go through the entire exam. Okay, so as I said, household budget notes, top of page 3. So this question was asked every year on the O course. However, it is difficult to predict what could come up this year because this is only the second year that the new Junior Cycle Business Studies is getting asked. But with that in mind, because it wasn't asked last year, it could easily come up as one of these long questions here on the second section of the exam. Now, it's quite possible that it will be examined, and even if it doesn't get asked as a full question, it will surely be asked as a short question. So you will get something on the exam that revolves around a household budget. It may not be preparing a budget, but you might be asked, what is a budget? And why would you prepare a budget? Or what recommendations would you give to this family based on a budget that they give you, that the examiner actually gives you? Okay, so section 2 then on page 3 says the types of budgets. Now there are 4 types of budgets that can be asked. So one is just to complete the household budget. In that case, what the examiner will do is he will give you 3 or 4 months. Let's say he gives you January, February, March, April, and then the total. And what he'll do is he'll give us the income. So we'll have the income here, and then we'll have the expenditure. And we'll talk about what the expenditure is split up into. All you've got to do is add up all your income to get your total income, add up all your expenditure to get your total expenditure, and you'll subtract those 2. And when you subtract those 2, we get a figure called net cash. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in a few minutes. Right, so it's just a simple, straightforward budget where the examiner gives you all the transactions, you place the transactions into the actual household budget, and then you go and you do the calculations based on that. Fairly straightforward, no major issues. It's probably one of the first questions that you did when you were in first year. Okay? Right, so that's the first type of budget. The second type of budget is the budget comparison statement. Now, we are going to have a look at that. I said to you already that we're going to do 3 questions. The first question that we do is going to be that budget.